Are you a new gun owner and you're not sure how to figure out what gun laws pertain to you, especially in your particular state? Well, stay tuned because we're going to talk about where to go to find that information, and specifically if you're from Washington State, we'll go over some of the new gun legislation that was passed a couple years ago as it pertains to safe storage of firearms. This isn't legal advice, this is just informational, kind of giving you guys a roadmap to finding the information yourself, learning how to read some of that legislation, that state law. If you guys have any further questions, certainly reach out to a lawyer. Without further ado, let's dive into the internet and see what we can find. Okay guys, so welcome to my desktop. As you can see, I'm just in Google here. I typed in Washington State gun storage requirements, and right off the bat, RCW 9.41.360 unsafe storage of a firearm popped up, and the HTTPS, the link here is app.leg.wa.gov. So if you're looking for information on firearm related laws, I certainly would consider the fact that this states wa.gov. So we're going to click on that. RCW 941.360 popped up. We're in the Washington State Legislature right now. This RCW is titled Unsafe Storage of a Firearm. We'll just read through it real quick. A person who stores or leaves a firearm in a location where the person knows or reasonably should know that a prohibited person may gain access to the firearm, A, is guilty of community endangerment due to unsafe storage of a firearm in the first degree if a prohibited person gains access and possession of a firearm and causes personal injury or death with the firearm. Or B, is guilty of community endangerment due to unsafe storage of a firearm in the second degree if a prohibited person obtains access and possession of a firearm and, so this is B subsection I, causes the firearm to discharge, double I, carries, exhibits, or displays the firearm in a public place in a manner that either manifests an intent to intimidate another or that warrants alarm for the safety of other persons, or triple I, uses the firearm in the commission of a crime. 2A. Community endangerment due to unsafe storage of a firearm in the first degree is a Class C felony. B. Community endangerment due to unsafe storage of a firearm in the second degree is a gross misdemeanor. 3. Subsection 1, so this entire subsection does not apply if A. The firearm was in a secure gun storage or secured with a trigger lock or similar device that is designed to prevent the unauthorized use or discharge of the firearm. B. In the case of a person who is a prohibited person on the basis of the person's age, access to the firearm is with the lawful permission of the prohibited person's parent or guardian and supervised by an adult, or is in accordance with RCW 9.41.042. C. The prohibited person obtains and discharges the firearm in a lawful act of self-defense, or the prohibited person's access to the firearm was obtained as a result of an unlawful entry, provided that the unauthorized access or theft of the firearm is reported to a local law enforcement agency in the jurisdiction in which the unauthorized access or theft occurred within 5 days of the time the victim of the unlawful entry knew or reasonably should have known that the firearm had been taken. 4. If a death or serious injury occurs as a result of an alleged violation of subsection 1A of this section, the prosecuting attorney may decline to prosecute even though technically sufficient evidence to prosecute exists in situations where prosecution would serve no public purpose or would defeat the purpose of the law in question. 5. For the purpose of this section, prohibited person means a person who is prohibited from possessing a firearm under state or federal law. Nothing in this section mandates how or where a firearm must be stored. Okay, so that was a lot. That was like 5 minutes of me reading. So real quick, I just want to highlight nothing in this section mandates how or where a firearm must be stored. So that's up to you to decide based on your individual situation. Also, you have 5 days from the time you knew or reasonably should have known that the firearm had been taken. So if you're on vacation and someone breaks into your home and you don't know about it for 7 days, when you come home and you realize that your firearm has been taken, that's when you need to let local law enforcement agency know in your jurisdiction of the unauthorized access or theft. If the firearm is used in a lawful act of self-defense, this does not apply. And then also, if your firearm was in a secure gun storage or secured with a trigger lock or similar device that was designed to prevent unauthorized use or discharge of the firearm, and the person gains access to the firearm, you would be covered, potentially. And also, the prosecuting attorney may decline to prosecute even if there's sufficient evidence to prosecute you. So even if you break any of the requirements under this law, you still might be not prosecuted for your supposed unsafe storage of a firearm crime. I mean, again, we're talking Class C felony or a gross misdemeanor. So, I mean, you definitely don't want to mess around and take the chance that the prosecuting attorney is gonna be lenient on you, but at the same time, just know if you're doing everything you can based on your situation to make sure your firearm is stored safely, then, maybe even take pictures of it. That way, if someone's trying to accuse you of unsafe storage, say, hey, this is the condition that I have my firearm in at all times. So this initiative was measure number 1639. It was approved November 6, 2018. So it's been on the books for several years, but a lot of people still don't understand how this works. A lot of people feel that they have to keep it locked up with no ammo near it, and you guys make sure you check your local laws as they pertain to you. But just going over this particular RCW, nothing in this section mandates how or where a firearm must be stored. So again, after reading this RCW, you should be able to determine based on your personal situation how and where you can store your firearms. So I hope you found that information useful. Once again, it wasn't legal advice. There is some new legislation on the horizon, unfortunately, for Washington residents. So definitely make sure that you guys are staying active. Just buying a firearm and tucking it away and never thinking about it again doesn't do you any good. If for some reason you end up breaking a law that you didn't even realize was passed, or you voted for something that you didn't realize affected your gun ownership rights, that would be terrible. But, just don't be overwhelmed. Don't let it discourage you from owning or purchasing a firearm. Just be aware that, with great firepower comes great responsibility. If you guys enjoyed this content, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you don't want to miss out on future videos, and I really appreciate you guys hanging in here.